Classy.
Welcome, everyone, to the More Girls Next Door podcast. I'm your host, Megan, and today we're revisiting Season 3, Episode 7 of The Girls Next Door, Hearts Afire. There was a time when Valentine's Day was a legitimate event, not just dinner reservations, an actual production. You bought stuffed animals the size of refrigerators. Grocery stores suddenly smelled of chocolate-covered strawberries. Every middle school hallway looked like Cupid had gone rogue, misfiring construction paper hearts in every direction. And if you were dating someone in 2007, your relationship was basically judged by how much pink tissue paper was involved. Meanwhile, over at the Playboy Mansion, Valentine's Day wasn't just for couples. It was for girlfriends, playmates, dogs, sock bouquets, and accidental fires. Because if you've watched this show long enough, you know one thing is always true. No celebration at the mansion stays normal for very long. But before we head back to February 2007, let's crack open the Y2K vault. "2007 was a very specific time on the internet. YouTube had only been around for about 2 years. Facebook was still mostly for college students and recent graduates. Instagram didn't exist. TikTok wasn't even a dream yet. But one website absolutely exploded that spring: Etsy. If you were crafty, this was suddenly the place to be. Handmade jewelry, hair bows, knitted scarves, custom purses, soap shaped like cupcakes. If somebody could glue rhinestones onto it, someone was selling it. It was also the beginning of what we'd now call the creator economy. People weren't just opening stores. They were building personal brands, making money from hobbies, selling handmade products from spare bedrooms. Which is funny because over at the Playboy Mansion, Holly Madison was quietly doing exactly that. Long before influencers started selling merch, she had figured out a niche: sock bouquets. Yes, literal bouquets made from rolled-up tube socks. We'll see those make a very memorable appearance later in today's episode. But now, can you kick off your candies, hang up your trucker hat, and silence your sidekick? Let's get into Hearts Afire.
Valentine's Day is coming up, and I look forward to it because it's kind of a fun holiday for all of us together.
Even though it's like a romantic holiday, I like having the other girls with us.
The episode opens with Holly in one of the places we've become very familiar with over the past 3 seasons: Mary O'Connor's office. If the Playboy Mansion had a command center, this was it. Mary handled everything: travel, schedules, events, gifts, problems. If Hef was the CEO, Mary was essentially the co-chief operating officer who somehow kept this wonderfully chaotic machine running. Holly tells us she's excited for Valentine's Day. "Even though it's a romantic holiday, I like having the other girls around," she says. If you ask me, Holly has been doing a lot of self-convincing with similar commentary lately. We now know that Holly was actually feeling trapped in her pseudo-polygamist arrangement. But she genuinely seemed to enjoy building traditions, decorating, celebrating holidays, creating little rituals. Whether it was Christmas, birthdays, movie nights, or Valentine's Day, she was constantly trying to make life inside the mansion feel more like a family than, well, it actually was. The conversation shifts toward weddings because Holly mentions her sister is getting married later that year in Jamaica. Naturally, Holly's mind wanders toward her own dream wedding.
I want to get married here, but I also want to have my honeymoon and get married again at Disney World.
They do all the wedding stuff, and they have, you can stay in the Cinderella's castle now. They have a bedroom in there, which is like the perfect honeymoon suite.
Wow.
And then the reception will be the midsummer's party, which is just like an ordinary midsummer's party, except the whole thing is all the Jello shooters can only be clear and red. So those are my wedding colors. And then for our honeymoon, we're gonna go to Disney World and we can bring some friends. And we go to Disney World and we're gonna stay in the Cinderella castle. Yeah, we're gonna stay in there. And then they also do weddings at Disney World, so we can have like a whole wedding Disney World theme.
She tells Mary she imagines marrying Hef right there at the Playboy Mansion, but then having a second ceremony at Disneyland. Yep, that tracks. If someone had asked me in 2007 to guess Holly Madison's dream wedding location, Disneyland would have been my very first answer. She has always loved fantasy worlds. Old Hollywood, princess aesthetics, Disney magic. It's all very consistent with who she is. As she's enthusiastically describing this vision, Hef casually walks into the office. Without missing much of a beat, Holly smiles and tells him she's planning their wedding. Hef fires back. Oh, will I be there? Classic Hef. Quick, dry, unserious. In confessional, Holly laughs and says that she doesn't mind him overhearing conversations like this. In fact, Holly adds, he should know what he's getting himself into. Watching this scene now, it's impossible not to view it through hindsight, because we know this wedding never happens. But just a few years later, in 2013 and inside Disneyland, Holly married entrepreneur Pasquale Rotella, the founder of Insomniac Events, the company behind the Electric Daisy Carnival, or EDC, one of the largest electronic dance music festivals in the world. The couple exchanged vows after the park had closed for the evening in front of the Sleeping Beauty Castle, allowing them to have one of Disneyland's most iconic locations almost entirely to themselves. Together, they had 2 children before divorcing in 2018. So while Holly's dream of getting married at the mansion never came true, she did eventually get the Disney fantasy and the family she'd been hoping for during so much of this series. It's one of those reminders that life rarely unfolds the way we picture it, even when we're convinced we've mapped out every detail.
Valentine's Day is one of my favorite holidays. Hef is definitely my Valentine, but so is Holly and Kendra.
Come on, Mama.
Over in Bridget's bedroom, we're greeted by another incredibly familiar sight. Bridget is sitting cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by ribbons, bags, craft supplies, and gifts. If someone told me Bridget had been preparing for Valentine's Day since Labor Day, I'd believe them. Bridget tells us she doesn't just think of Hef as her Valentine. Holly and Kendra are her Valentines too. Okay, not reading too much into the oddness of that statement, I suppose it represents one of Bridget's most endearing qualities. She doesn't seem to compartmentalize affection. She celebrates everybody. Friends, family, pets, neighbors, probably the mail carrier. If there's a holiday, everyone gets included. Back in the office, Mary has another important task. She needs Hef to approve the Valentine's gifts for the girlfriends. Inside one of the mansion's guest rooms, it looks like the Playboy gift catalog exploded. Pink boxes, red boxes, chocolate boxes, stuffed animals, lingerie, and jewelry. Pretty much everything has a bunny logo on it somewhere. We learn that apparently Holly had already gone through the Playboy catalog herself, circling all the things she wanted Hef to buy everyone. And hey, sounds like an efficient system to me. Why risk disappointment? Just hand the man the answer key. Mary proudly walks Hef through the displays. He approves the jewelry, the stuffed animals, the candy and lingerie. Everything seems to be going smoothly. Until... dun dun dun. The packaging. Because if we've learned anything about Hugh Hefner after nearly 3 seasons, it's this. Details matter. Not big details, tiny details. the kind that most people would never even notice. The gifts are perfectly acceptable. The boxes are not. Hef wants another layer added to the presentation, because opening one beautifully wrapped gift simply wasn't theatrical enough. Mary gives the tiniest sigh that every office manager on Earth has perfected and agrees to make the changes. Honestly, I felt that.
Valentine's Day is no exception.
Hey, do you know what you're getting Hef for Valentine's Day?
I was just gonna bake a cake for all of us, but, love you, Hef, and have our names on the smaller hearts.
Hef is very difficult to buy presents for. He's the quintessential man who has everything.
I had some ideas, but I haven't had time to do anything.
Back in Bridget's room, Holly and Bridget are trying to solve an impossible problem. What do you buy Hugh Hefner for Valentine's Day? Bridget already knows. She's baking. Bridget communicates through baked goods the way some people communicate through text messages. Cookies, cupcakes, cakes. And the idea is simpler than the execution ever is. Holly struggles more because, seriously, what do you get someone who already owns everything? And if he doesn't own it, can probably buy it before lunch. Eventually, the girls head downstairs for a game of dominoes with Hef and Kendra. It's one of those deceptively small scenes that quietly reinforces something we've talked about before. For all the glamour, celebrities, and mansion mythology, a surprising amount of their everyday life looked ordinary and on schedule. They watched movies, played board games, and just sat around chatting. Sometimes the mansion almost feels less like a celebrity estate and more like a very strange retirement community with a dress code. Then comes one of the episode's pure filler moments. Holly and Bridget decide their dogs deserve Valentine's Day too. And naturally, Duke and Winnie exchange gifts. The girls load the dogs onto Holly's new golf cart and drive them around the property. Nothing advances the plot. Nothing particularly memorable happens. It's just adorable dogs, two women clearly enjoying themselves, and a reminder that not every reality show scene had to be packed with drama. Sometimes producers simply needed 90 more seconds of television. Bridget eventually heads to the mansion kitchen where she's recruited some help from Crystal Camden. The two of them mix batter, pour it into heart-shaped pans, and decorate several cakes with pink frosting, red icing, sprinkles, the whole Valentine's Day color palette. It's wholesome, festive, and it feels very Bridget. She never seemed embarrassed to fully commit to a holiday. She wasn't trying to be too cool for Valentine's Day. If anything, she probably wished there were more decorations. Meanwhile, the rest of the mansion is getting ready for dinner.
When Hef and all of us girls walk into a restaurant, we always get reactions. Younger people always give us like, wow, what a pimp. Older people usually give us like, oh my God. Hef is the only man in the world that could pull this off. It's illegal for Hef to walk in a room with like 10 smoking hot chicks.
How you say? Very well. My pleasure.
For Valentine's Day, Hef takes the girlfriends, along with several playmates, to Trader Vic's, the famous Polynesian restaurant inside the Beverly Hilton Hotel. Trader Vic's was an institution. Founded in the early 1930s, it's credited with helping popularize tiki culture in America and is widely associated with the invention, or at least the popularization, of the Mai Tai. The dark wood interiors, the carved tiki statues, the bamboo, the flaming cocktails. It all felt like stepping onto the set of a Hollywood adventure movie. Holly and Bridget still bring Trader Vic's up from time to time on Girls Next Level, so clearly it left an impression. Once everyone is seated, Bridget leans over and takes a sip of Hef's drink. She makes a face. Wow, that's strong, honey. You're gonna be under the table. Hef smiles. Hey, that's a good idea. And the whole table laughs. Classic Hef. Every conversation somehow found its way back to an innuendo. A few moments later, Holly leans over and gives Hef a quick kiss. Then Hef looks around the table and announces, "Will all of you girls be my Valentine?" Oof. Sorry, Holly, but that moment probably landed very differently depending on who you were watching. From Hef's perspective, he's including everyone, making the entire table feel part of the celebration. But from Holly's perspective, especially knowing how much she longed for exclusivity, it's another reminder that nothing at the mansion really belonged to just the two of them. Not Valentine's Day, not birthdays, not anniversaries, not even a kiss without it quickly becoming a group activity. Almost comically, the editors immediately cut to Holly in confessional, saying she actually enjoys celebrating Valentine's Day with the other girls just as much as with Hef. And maybe she truly meant that. Maybe she's again self-soothing through false commentary. Or maybe after enough years inside that environment, you learned to adjust your expectations. Across the dinner table sits playmate Allison Waite. Her dress absolutely refuses to cooperate. One shoulder slips down, exposing her chest. She's embarrassed and quickly fixes it. Then the other shoulder falls down. She fixes that one. The first one slips again. It's like watching someone play fashion-themed whack-a-mole. Hef watches the whole thing unfold before joking, "I want to meet the designer of that dress." I don't know if Allison was laughing internally or praying someone had a safety pin. Probably both. Back at the mansion, everyone is ready to exchange gifts. But first, Hef stops Holly. He wants a few minutes alone with her before joining Bridget and Kendra. Inside his bedroom is another carefully arranged Valentine's display. Only this one is just for Holly. Spread across the bed are Mickey and Minnie Mouse plushes, heart-shaped Disney pillows, more stuffed animals. And this is why I always find myself having mixed feelings. Because we've talked before on More Girls Next Door about the strange emphasis Playboy often placed on maintaining this very youthful, almost childlike aesthetic, which we've also observed carried over into childish behavior. The baby voices and forced enthusiastic energy. There's also the schoolgirl fashion, Hello Kitty, and Disney motifs. It's impossible to ignore how frequently these women were encouraged to embrace an image that blurred adulthood and innocence in a way that feels uncomfortable viewed through today's lens. Watching a man in his 80s surprise his girlfriend with piles of stuffed animals doesn't quite hit the same way now as it probably did in 2007. Speaking personally, I'm with Carrie Bradshaw on this one. A piece of jewelry would have been nice. Instead, Holly smiles, giggles, thanks Hef, and appears authentic in her happiness. And that's something worth remembering too. Whether or not we understand the gifts, she clearly appreciated the thought behind them. Or maybe she was just happy enough to receive a few trinkets apart from the group gift exchange. Downstairs, the dining room has been decorated with pink, white, and red balloons, candles, rose petals, and confetti. Everyone gathers around the table. Wrapping paper starts flying. Boxes are opened. Chocolates and jewelry are unveiled. Holly presents Bridget and Kendra with her gifts, matching silver lockets, and the return of the sock bouquets. If you heard our Season 3 premiere recap, you'll remember these. By this point, Holly had actually turned her signature sock bouquets into a small business, selling them online years before influencers were building Etsy empires left and right. And good for her. Take your niche and monetize it. Bridget unwraps hers as Hef watches with a puzzled expression. You can almost see the question forming over his head. They're flowers? Bridget notices his confusion, so she picks up the bouquet, leaving a heap of tissue paper on the table. Then she holds the tube socks upright like she's just won Miss America. See, she explains, sock bouquets.
Good colors.
They're sock bouquets.
Sock bouquets.
I
don't know what happened, but all of a sudden one of the edges of the tissue paper caught on fire. And then all of a sudden, Kendra goes screaming and yelling and running out the room. Fire! 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 Ah!
Oh my God! Wait, water!
As Bridget is demonstrating the multifunctionality of tube socks, the pink tissue paper she had set on the table drifts a little too close to one of the lit tea candles. In seconds, an unnoticed flicker grows into an engulfment of flames. Kendra spots it first, and instantly, she launches herself out of her chair, points dramatically, and begins yelling, "Fire! Fire! Wait, what do we do? Water! Ah!" Meanwhile, Bridget is doing her best to calmly smother the flames. Everyone else is frozen for about half a second trying to process what's happening. And Kendra is having what can only be described as a full-body panic attack. She's pointing, she's hopping, she's spinning, she's shouting instructions to absolutely nobody in particular. It reminds me of when a dog gets the zoomies and completely forgets where its legs are supposed to go. Eventually, Hef's longtime personal photographer jumps into frame, grabs one of the gift bags, and quickly beats the flames out before anything more serious happens. Disaster avoided, thankfully. But watching Kendra's emergency response is still one of the funniest physical comedy moments of the entire season. Everyone responds differently under pressure. Some people become laser-focused. Some people freeze. And apparently, Kendra becomes the human version of a fire alarm. As the smoke clears, literally, we're reminded that the Playboy Mansion calendar waits for no one. Valentine's Day is over, time for Mardi Gras. And if an unofficial holiday presents an opportunity to turn a themed party into an annual tradition, it's a welcomed celebration at the Playboy Mansion. So we're dropped into the familiar behind-the-scenes chaos that always precedes these events. Staff members hurry across the grounds carrying decorations, florists are assembling centerpieces, rental crews are setting up enormous white tents across the backyard. Purple, green, and gold are absolutely everywhere. Entire teams of people spent days transforming the mansion for a party that would last only one evening. Then makeup artist Steven arrives to begin getting Kendra ready. Steven had become one of those recurring mansion characters. He wasn't just applying makeup, he was part stylist, part therapist, part comedian. Kendra proudly brings over her costume for his approval. Steven squints his eyes as he looks down at what she's holding. Then he deadpans. That is the smallest outfit. He is not exaggerating. From a distance, it honestly looks like she's carrying a handful of ribbon, a little fringe, and pure optimism. But Kendra is completely unfazed. If anyone could confidently wear 12 square inches of fabric to a mansion party, it was Kendra. Then she casually drops another piece of information. Her 18-year-old brother Colin is coming to the party. And before Steven can even react, she proudly announces, "I'm gonna get my brother laid."
My brother is coming.
Your brother's coming to the party?
He's 18.
Does he know what he's in for?
He's 18 years old. He's at the Playboy Mansion. So me and my girls are going to find him a girl, you know? I'm going to get my brother laid. That's a good idea, isn't it?
Probably for him, yeah.
We've actually seen Colin before, usually during family visits. He's popped into a few episodes alongside Patty and the rest of Kendra's family. But this is the first time we really see him stepping into Playboy nightlife. FYI, a few years ago, Colin appeared on Girls Next Level as a guest alongside Holly and Bridget during their Season 2 recap. If you haven't listened to that episode, consider it highly recommended. It's really one of my favorites, because the quiet teenager we remember from this series shows up as a confident, articulate, thoughtful adult. He's funny, self-aware, clearly successful in his own right. And despite the well-known and public feud between Holly and Bridget versus Kendra, Colin manages to fully engage with respect for both sides. It's always interesting when reality TV lets you revisit someone 20 years later. Sometimes people become exactly who you expected. Sometimes they completely surprise you. Colin definitely surprised me, in the best way. Colin arrives with Patty, and before we discuss anything else, we have to discuss the outfit. Because this young man has accidentally become a walking museum exhibit called 2007. He's wearing an oversized black t-shirt with a gigantic LA graphic splashed across the front, surrounded by smaller neon LA logos. The shirt hangs below his knees, which are covered with the baggiest black jeans imaginable. I mean, these aren't relaxed or loose fit. These are, I could comfortably hide another person inside each of my pant legs. And then comes the hat, a backwards fitted cap covered in multicolored Southern California area codes with, if my eyes aren't deceiving me, the retail tag still attached. And by the way, this was a thing. For a while, leaving the sticker or tag on your fitted cap wasn't forgetting to remove it. It was intentional. It was fashion. Nobody can fully explain why. We just all accepted it. As for the clothing brand, I can't make it out, but my fellow Y2K survivors are probably having the same thought I did. It's giving South Pole. It's giving Rockaware. It's giving my MySpace profile has a custom cursor. And I mean that affectionately. Also hanging out in Kendra's room is Destiny Davis. She casually lets the audience in on the night's real objective. We're gonna find Colin a girlfriend. And just like that, mission Hook Colin Up is officially underway. It's kind of funny because nobody asks Colin whether he'd actually like assistance. The women have simply decided. Tonight, he will be meeting someone. Against his will, if necessary. Poor guy. Meanwhile, Bridget heads to a costume shop called Revamp Vintage Edition Recreations.
I cannot go to a Mardi Gras party and not dress up. I wanted to be very, very Mardi Gras princess style.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, excited.
Well, I have a delightful outfit for you.
I definitely take the Mardi Gras party and take it to the limit.
Oh my God, it looks cool. Is that enough stars?
I think so.
At this point in the series, Bridget has developed a reputation. When there's a themed party, she doesn't just buy a costume. She commissions one. She researches, she references history, she builds an entire character. Waiting inside is costume designer Anna Marie, who looks like she stepped out of one of her own creations. She has a bright yellow pinup bob haircut and wears baby doll-inspired attire down to flat Mary Janes that really do resemble oversized doll shoes. She's completely committed to the aesthetic. She unveils Bridget's Mardi Gras costume, and it's inspired by none other than Gypsy Rose Lee. Gypsy Rose Lee was an American burlesque performer, actress, author, and entertainer who became the most famous striptease artist of the 20th century. She rose to fame during the 1930s and 1940s. Unlike many burlesque performers of the era, Gypsy Rose Lee became known less for how much she removed and more for how she performed. Her act emphasized wit, teasing, storytelling, and sophisticated humor rather than explicit nudity. Modern burlesque performers still cite Gypsy Rose Lee as one of their biggest influences because she proved confidence and charisma could be every bit as captivating as nudity. And once you know that, Bridget's choice makes perfect sense. She isn't just dressing up for Mardi Gras. She's paying homage to one of entertainment's most iconic performers. When Bridget steps out wearing the finished costume, it's gorgeous. The bra sparkles with purple, green, and gold sequin stars. The matching bottoms are dripping with gold beading and appliques. But the real star is the cape. Layers upon layers of soft purple tulle cascade behind her, decorated with matching Mardi Gras stars that shimmer as she moves. It's dramatic, elegant, and somehow still playful. Basically, it's Bridget in costume form. And she absolutely loves it. So do I. Back at the mansion, Hef gathers Holly, Bridget, and Kendra and asks them to come downstairs to check out this year's Painted Ladies. Now, by season 3, we've seen the Painted Ladies several times, so the concept isn't exactly new. Every year, models would pose nearly nude while body painters transformed them into elaborate living works of art. With strategic pieces of painter's tape covering what television standards required, artists airbrush costumes directly onto their skin. It's one of those traditions that became synonymous with Playboy parties. But let's be honest, this scene isn't really about the Painted Ladies. It's another excuse for the show to retell one of its favorite stories, Kendra's mansion origin story. We've heard it enough times that I think we could all recite it from memory. Kendra originally came to the mansion as one of the Painted Ladies. Hef noticed her. The rest is history. Beyond the sea of painted models, we spot Holly standing nearby, clutching a bundle of giant peacock feathers. Then she explains she had actually sketched one of this year's Painted Lady concepts herself. Hef approved it, and it was inspired by the custom-made peacock costume she'd worn to his birthday party the year before. And speaking of that peacock costume, here's a fun little bit of Girls Next Door trivia that most fans probably don't know. Years later, Holly loaned that original custom-made peacock costume to Jessica Iovine, who has openly said she was a huge Girls Next Door fan. Jessica is the daughter of legendary music executive Jimmy Iovine, the co-founder of Beats Electronics and one of the most influential figures in modern music. The Iovine family actually lived just down the street from the Playboy Mansion on Charing Cross Road. So in a funny little way, Jessica and her younger sister Jade really were the girls next door to the girls next door. Don't you just love weird little Hollywood connections like that?
Whenever I see it, it brings back memories.
I remember we were standing right here.
I remember. I remember very well. You were sitting right there.
I was standing right here. I was like,
So cute.
oh, I've never met a celebrity before. You remember a celebrity?
I remember. So cute.
When I first met Hef, I couldn't even breathe. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, what was it that made me stand out over all these other girls?
As everyone admires the body-painted costumes, Hef suddenly points toward one of the models. I recognize that outfit. Sure enough, one woman is wearing a bedazzled recreation of the rhinestone monokini Kendra wore the night they first met. You know the outfit, and the show immediately leans into the nostalgia. Again. Kendra admits in confessional that seeing another woman wearing her outfit brings back memories of how nervous she was meeting Hugh Hefner that night. She also wonders aloud what made Hef notice her over everyone else. It's actually kind of an interesting question, because in hindsight, people tend to explain Kendra's rise at the mansion as inevitable. Of course Hef picked her. Of course she became one of the girlfriends. But at the time, she was just one of many beautiful women at a party. Sometimes history hinges on one tiny moment, one introduction, one conversation, one person noticing another across a crowded room. And upstairs, Bridget's bedroom has officially become party headquarters. According to Bridget over the years, that's pretty much how it always worked. Her room was one of the largest. Friends naturally gravitated there before parties. Hair, makeup, music, champagne, costume emergencies, and last-minute sewing. It became the unofficial backstage dressing room for half the mansion. Walking in, you immediately see controlled chaos. Curling irons, makeup brushes, sequins, glue, hairspray. Girls are everywhere. Holly is sitting on the bed with a needle and thread, hand-sewing crystals onto a white satin corset layered beneath fishnet. She admits she's been feeling a little guilty lately. She used to spend far more time creating elaborate party costumes, but life has become so busy at the mansion that she feels like she's been slacking. I actually found that kind of relatable. Creative people are often their own harshest critics. Everyone else sees something beautiful while they're only noticing the corners they wish they'd had another 3 hours to finish. Bridget and Kendra both reassure her the costume looks gorgeous. Then the room somehow gets even louder.
Laurent!
Hi, Bridget.
¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien. That's your dress?
Yes.
Oh my god. Bridget, this is my favorite outfit I think I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah.
I was really shocked when Kendra told me that this outfit was her favorite of everything she's seen me in so far because I've done some wild and crazy elaborate costumes.
Celebrity hairstylist Laurent St. Creek bursts through the door. If you've watched enough early 2000s reality television, chances are you've seen Laurent without realizing it. He became one of Los Angeles' go-to hairstylists during the 90s and 2000s, especially among Playboy models, actresses, and reality stars. He specialized in glamorous blonde hair, big volume, old Hollywood waves, basically everything the Playboy look demanded. And Laurent wasn't exactly subtle. He had huge personality, wild curls, an unmistakable French accent, and a slight lisp in his speech. The second he spots Bridget's costume hanging nearby, he gasps dramatically. Bridget, is that your dress? Sorry, guys. It is so funny. Before anyone else can respond, Kendra chimes in. I think this is my favorite outfit I've ever seen on you. Now, I have to point something out. Kendra is in an exceptionally good mood this episode. She's complimenting people, laughing, joking, playing wingwoman, trying to help her family. There are no complaints, no eye rolls, no obvious tension. Sometimes people ask why certain episodes feel lighter than others. Sometimes it's as simple as everyone's in a good mood. I think this is one of those episodes. Steven heads downstairs to work on Patty's makeup. While he's getting her camera ready, Patty casually mentions she's been thinking about getting a facelift and permanent makeup. It feels like a random conversation at the time, almost throwaway. But longtime viewers know this storyline actually comes back next season. It's one of those little pieces of setup the show subtly plants months in advance. Back upstairs, the bedroom is getting busier by the minute. Friends continue arriving, music is playing, Jell-O shots appear, and let's be so for real. That feels about right. If you're trying to squeeze into a corset, a little liquid courage probably doesn't hurt. Kendra finally steps into her completed costume. It's a hot pink and teal corseted look with short fringe cascading from every angle. And I have to say, I think this might actually be my favorite Kendra costume of the entire series. It reminds me of a glamorous 1950s cigar girl. If the cigar girl had wandered into Mardi Gras, stopped by Vegas, and picked up a few extra sequins along the way. And with everyone finally dressed, it's time to head downstairs. Finally, it's showtime. One thing I always looked forward to on The Girls Next Door was seeing the finished reveal after spending half the episode watching everyone get ready. It's like those makeover shows where half the fun is seeing all the work come together. The girls make their way downstairs where guests have already begun filling the mansion. Masks, feathers, sequins, music and cocktails. Everywhere you look, there's another elaborate costume. As was tradition, Hef, Holly, Bridget, and Kendra descend from the top of the grand staircase for their official entrance. It's something we've seen at nearly every major mansion party. They don't simply walk into the room, they make an entrance. And the photographers are already waiting. At the party, Destiny reminds Kendra that they have an assignment. Mission hook Colin up. The editors lean all the way into the joke, overlaying the Mission Impossible theme song as Kendra and Destiny begin scanning the party for eligible bachelorettes. The two of them weave through the crowd, clearly taking their self-appointed matchmaking duties very seriously. The problem? Nobody bothered checking on Colin. Because while Kendra and Destiny are off conducting what is essentially a human casting call, Colin is quietly handling things himself.
Me and Destiny were trying to find Colin a female, but Colin found one by himself. Successful night. Colin got the digits.
The camera eventually finds Colin tucked off to the side, talking to a beautiful brunette. Not only is he talking to her, he's getting her phone number. Mission accomplished, without any help whatsoever. And here's another fun bit of Playboy history. This wasn't the last time Colin found romance around the mansion. A couple of years later, he would date Candace Cassidy, who became Playboy's Miss June 2009. So apparently Kendra's confidence in her brother wasn't entirely misplaced. He was doing just fine. With Colin officially off the market, or at least temporarily occupied, Kendra redirects her energy. Now it's Patty's turn, because apparently tonight everyone in the Wilkinson family is getting paired off. As Kendra is deciding to find her mom a date, the editors cut together a montage of the absolute madness unfolding around the party. People dancing, laughing, fist-bumping in costumes so extreme they're almost impossible to recognize. The camera bounces around the room, catching celebrity cameos and familiar mansion regulars. Over there, it's Ron Jeremy. Hey, there's Pauly Shore. And there's longtime mansion regular Ray Anthony, better known to Playboy fans as All the Way Ray. Kendra, this might not be the ideal environment to start speed dating your mother. Read the room, babe. Maybe save that for brunch.
The Mardi Gras party was a lot of fun. I loved my outfit, and when I love my outfit, I have a great time.
The Mardi Gras party was the perfect way to end Valentine's week.
Happy Mardi Gras.
I think what makes this episode work so well is that the episode leans into something the Girls Next Door actually did remarkably well when it wanted to, showing everyday life inside an extraordinary place. Yes, there are over-the-top parties, custom costumes, celebrity cameos, extravagant gifts. But between all of that, there are little slices of normal life. Bridget baking cakes, Holly hand-sewing rhinestones onto a costume, friends getting ready together in one bedroom, a family playing dominoes in their jammies. Those are surprisingly relatable moments, even if they're happening inside one of the most famous houses in America. This episode also reminds us how much these women contributed to the mansion's atmosphere. If Holly wasn't planning decorations, Bridget was baking. If Bridget wasn't commissioning over-the-top costumes, Kendra was supplying the energy. Whether you loved all three personalities or connected with just one of them, each brought something completely different to the equation. Take away any one of them, and the mansion suddenly feels a little less alive. And maybe my favorite moment in the entire episode isn't the lavish Valentine's gifts or the celebrity party, or even the costumes. It's the fire. Not because anything really caught on fire, obviously, but because it's such a perfect snapshot of everyone's personality. Bridget stays calm and immediately tries to fix the problem. The people around her hesitate for just a split second while they process what's happening. And Kendra? Kendra becomes a one-woman emergency broadcast system. Fire! What do we do? Water! Wait! It's pure physical comedy. And 20 years later, it still makes me laugh. Sometimes the funniest moments on reality television aren't the ones producers planned. They're the ones nobody could have scripted. Next time, we'll see whether the mansion can make it through another episode without setting something else on fire. Knowing this show, I wouldn't count on it. I want to thank you for listening to More Girls Next Door. If you've enjoyed this trip back to 2007, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with another Y2K survivor. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.
The bricks.